My chess coach just sent me this chess puzzle and told me that Stockfish has a glitch because this position is actually a draw, but it gives this position about over +3. And I told him there is no way in the world Stockfish would give a position +3 and you are saying it's only a draw, and there is no way for white to crack open this solid defense by black. So the first thing that comes to my mind, obviously, this is a stubborn defense by black, and the first plan I wanted was to create a passed pawn. If I'm able to get rid of one of these pawns, this or this, then I'll be able to create a passer. And once I create a passer, it's very easy for me to win an endgame. The first thing that comes to my mind, or that came to my mind, was if you want to create a passer, then let us simply sack the knight. Now, after I sack the knight, I have this pawn. It is a passer. But the problem with sacking the knight and this passed pawn is that, can it really move forward? If I bring my king, black would simply step forward with their king. And if I move the pawn, you can see it has lost its defenders. The B and the D pawn that were guarding it before have simply left it. And black would simply come forward to capture the pawn, and there will be no way for us to break even, and the position is a dead draw. So sacking the pawn is 100%, sacking the knight is 100% out of the way. Now, what is the other option we have? The other plan that came to my mind was, how do we infiltrate? Can we in any way maneuver this knight into black's territory so we can attack all of these backward pawns that cannot be defended by the king? Well, let's see if that can happen. Let me move my king forward. Black moves their king, and let us begin to maneuver our knights. So we're bringing it back as well. So we get to this position. I'm able to infiltrate, but the problem now is black is stubbornly defending that pawn with their king, but I can still hop in. Let's hop in. Now, I am deep in opponent's territory, but how exactly can I attack this pawn? Is it really possible for me? If the black king moves away, I won't be able to effectively attack all of these pawns because the knight will simply keep hopping around and black king would have a chance to keep defending their pawns. At this point, I had a deep thing to see if I can change my strategy about this position. Now, I brought my knight to b5. The idea behind this move is to create a passed pawn, but in a different way entirely, by simply offering the knight to black. The beautiful thing about this is if black takes it, that would be a big blunder because although they have equalized and the material are even, I would simply bring my king over. As you can see in this position, it seems like black has control over everything. I won't be able to push this pawn because it is protected by their pawn and their king. And worse still, if I push it, black would be able to recapture with a check. So how do I even break even in this position? Well, the answer is pushing the pawn anyway, because after black recaptures, my king simply sneaks to b3. It is black's turn to move. If they want to keep protecting this pawn, they cannot move to this a4 square. They cannot move to b5 square. So the only option for them is to move to b6 and a6. So if they move the king, I would simply come in with my king and the position crumbles and I'll be able to win the game because I have a passed pawn that is protected by the king. So in this position, if black were to know what they were doing, they wouldn't definitely take the knight. So how do we continue? What if black just moves their king because they've seen that, well, if I take the knight, white will be able to create a passed pawn? Well, we can simply just keep hopping over the knight. And I checked this position. I'm like, well, there's no way to actually solve this puzzle. And I sent it back to my coach that I've tried and tried and tried, and I haven't found a way to create a passed pawn. Then he told me that the idea is actually right, just that the execution is what is different. So he simply just showed me the solution of the chess puzzle by saying that we still need to keep maneuvering the knight. So this is where we need to keep bringing the knight. But before that, the king, white king, needs to move into position to guard everything. So once the knight hops into h4, what white needs to accomplish is bringing the knight to f5. Now, the reason this move is quite different from bringing the knight to this position is that if the knight is able to hop in, there is no way for black to defend this pawn because this square is protected, this square is protected. And even if black's king is on h7, I would just simply play a waiting move and they would have to move their king because they cannot move it here and they cannot move it here. The two squares that would enable them to protect the h6 pawn. So they will still have to move the king away, and by doing that, I'll be able to capture this pawn here and simply win the game because I can come back to harass these pawns and create more passed pawns for me to convert the game. But what if white has noticed this and says, well, I wouldn't allow the knight to hop in? And what if they decide to just let us capture the knight? Well, I will simply take back. And just like what happened in this position earlier on, whereby the king was here, the position is going to repeat itself as well, because if the king comes here, it seems like they've guarded everything, but I can still push anyway. Once you take back with a check, my king sneaks into g4, protecting this square. This square is protected, and the king would have to move out of the way. And once they do that, I match it with my king. I'll be able to capture the pawns or even just push the pawn to promotion. And that is the solution to the puzzle. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful puzzle. I actually thought this was not possible, but this is really mind-blowing. Chess is a really creative game, and I hope you enjoyed this. I really, really enjoyed this puzzle because he kind of refined or reshaped my thinking system about this position, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. So please smash that subscribe button. If you enjoyed this video, I know I'm 100% sure you are going to enjoy this video on your screen as well. Vladimir Kramnik's story has been up on my channel. You should not miss it because it is going to get more dense, more deep, because I'm going in depth in Vladimir Kramnik's snipe because he has been making the news lately. And I feel like he's one of the world champions that have polarizing personalities. On one end, he's the best player in the world. He was the best player in the world at one point. He contributed a lot to chess. And on the other end, he seems to be doing everything to tear down the legacy he once built for himself. So please don't miss this story. You would 100% enjoy it. Bye!